Hey guys, welcome back for another video. So I wanted to do a really quick intro before we get started on this. So just in case anybody has seen some of these clips before, I actually did a video series a couple of years ago, and there was like 4 or 5 different videos, and it was kind of early when I started making videos. The editing was really bad. They were kind of long, and there was a lot of kind of dead time in there. So I went back, I took the multiple videos, and I've actually combined them into one kind of long video. It's about an hour. But it's kind of interesting. I think this was my first attempt at trying to figure out how to fix a car, and I think it turned out pretty good. So I thought people might be interested in seeing it. Just want to put a little bit better format so it's a little bit more watchable, I think. So hopefully you enjoy. How's it going, guys? Heading out to on my way to pick up my next project. Well, here it is loading up. It's a 2019 Chevy Equinox. Alright guys, so I wasn't able to film a lot there. It's kind of crazy. It's auction is Monday here, and auction is on Friday, and it's Monday today, so there's a lot of traffic, a lot of vehicles getting loaded out today. So hopefully you got a chance to see it rolling up there on the front of the loader. You can see it in the back. So what we got is a 2019 Chevy Equinox, and it's actually the Premier Edition. It's top of the line, all decked out, leather and all the bells and whistles basically. So I've not actually run a Carfax on it, but I can see it's pretty obvious that they hit a deer, because I can actually see deer hair on the front of the bumper. And then based on the rest of the damage, I think probably what happened is somebody hit a deer and then they put it in the ditch. Based on the, I guess you don't need to look at the back of that car, but anyway, based on the kind of the mud around the front end and the kind of the damage, so I think they probably hit a deer, stuck it in the ditch, and probably banged it into the far side. So we'll see what it all looks like when I get a chance to tear it apart. Anyway, so that's we got her picked up, got her on the trailer. That went pretty well. And heading home, so I'll kind of run through things. I think I'm going to bring it home. It's not too bad, actually. It's fairly clean, but I may hit it with the power washer and knock off any of the dirt or the collected mud from the accident, get it as clean as I can before I pull it into the shop. So I'll get back to you guys in a bit. Well, guys, it's been about a few months now. It's probably been 3 months since that initial clip when I picked up this car. And when I got this thing, my intent was to document the whole process, but I've done a lousy job and haven't had the camera out at all for most of the work that I've done in this thing so far. So I apologize for that, but I'll try to document the rest of the process excuse me, as I move forward. But so fast forward to today. I've had a lot of been busy working, and then I got distracted with buying and rebuilding a snowmobile, which wasn't really in my plans, but did that. And anyway, so now we're back to the car. So it is May 16th. My daughter's birthday is June 17th, so I've got a month to get this thing done, and I'm going to start to get a lot of pressure from her to get that accomplished. But once I got this thing home, as I said in the video, tell you what I'll do is I'll put some pictures in so you can see better the condition. But basically, we had a deer hit here in the front, and I'm certain that they put it in the ditch. So the hood was wrinkled, fender, the other fender was a little wrinkled, the bumper was completely gone. I had no idea how much plastic was inside these things. As far as there's if you're not familiar with this, there's like a louver system. Here, I can show you. there's a louver system here that sits in front of the radiators that I guess the car will close that off when it's cold out, and in the summer when the air is running, or when it's hot out, it'll open that up. And anyway, that and a bunch of other plastic down there just was total shrapnel. So when I pulled the front bumper off this car, it was raining plastic all over the floor. So hood, the whole front end, all the radiators, condenser, transmission cooler, all that was smashed. So I quickly came to the decision when I started looking at parts that my best option was actually going to be to get a front clip for this thing. So did some searching around. I'm trying to think. I should have the numbers in front of me here. I think I ended up for, was it about, I think about $4,500 if I remember right. I ended up buying this front clip. I had to go, it was about 2.5 hours away, a couple hours away. So I was over near Omaha, so I ran over, picked it up. And, you know, of course it had the fenders, the hood, all the front end that I needed. It has the bumper, it has the grill, all the pretty much all the parts that I needed. So when I picked this car up, I had told you that this front apron was over here was wrinkled up, and it was. And you're probably wondering why this is on here. So I took the apron off of this car, cut it off, and I'd never done any of this stuff before. So take that all with a grain of salt. This is a totally inexperienced guy here doing body work. So when I cut everything off, I took the one off the original car, and I was just kind of practicing some of my tack welds on this super thin sheet metal, especially where I had to grind. Those spot welds just became so thin, so I was playing with that. That's why that's kind of halfway tacked on there. But what I found out when I actually tore the car apart is this front frame rail on the driver's side was tweaked pretty bad, and actually there you can see it. And it was, I'm trying to remember which way it was bent. I think it was that way. And then actually the passenger side was just a little bit bent too. It wasn't terrible, but so I went about figuring out how to actually cut the tips of the frame rail off. What I did was I cut them off the original car, and then I cut them off the donor car. And I'm trying to remember, I found the actual GM specs on how to make this repair, but I think I left off of here was about 20 millimeters longer. And come inside out of the wind here. So basically the way I did that is I took the frame rail sections off the donor car, and I actually split the corners in, I think that was 20 millimeters. Put a cut on each corner. I cut off the pinch welds on the top and the bottom, and I actually inserted those over the top of the existing frame rail of the car after I'd cut these off. So it probably doesn't make sense, and I wish I would have taped it for you. But anyway, that was a fairly extensive repair, and then getting all the, getting this whole apron. So basically this, I don't know proper name, but I call it the apron. So it comes around here, goes down. This is a chunk of it here, comes around, comes off this top fender here, comes around, and then it goes down and actually welds onto the frame here. And you can see where I cut these spot welds off of here and actually took it off of the donor car, as well as the top support that comes across above the radiator. And I just left it all in one piece and got that welded onto the car. So it took some time, and again, I can do some welding, but I'm certainly not a body guy, so it took me a little time to figure it out. But everything seems like it's lining up really well. The stage that I'm at right now, where we're jumping into this process, I've got the doors, basically everything's all stripped down, ready to be sanded. I'm going to blend into these doors over here, paint the whole front end. I did some spot priming, as you can see in here. It had some rock chips and some imperfections on this hood. But in the process of going back and resanding, I've actually sanded down through the paint, and there's a few little spots where I've sanded down to the metal of the hood. It's an aluminum hood, so I'm just gonna prime the whole thing just to be on the safe side. I've got it all scuffed. I'm gonna clean it up, and I'm just gonna prime the whole thing. That way I can get it all sanded nice and smooth. Once I do that, I'll be able to wet sand the fenders. The fenders are off the donor car. As you can see, they're in good shape, both sides. I had a little bit of, this is probably typical in an accident, but the fenders, the fender on this side got shoved back when it hit the deer, and I think from the driver opening the door, it kind of scuffed the paint a little bit on that front edge. So I've already, I hit that with some primer, and that was actually some epoxy primer that I got in a can because I didn't need very much. So anyway, I got some 2K epoxy primer, hit that, hit the other side as well, and it's already kind of scuffed up a little bit. I need to take the adhesive off from the Equinox emblem, and so I've got a little bit of kind of prep work to do. And then once I get everything sanded smooth, I'm gonna paint this thing, and I've never painted a vehicle before, so it'll be kind of interesting. I did buy a paint gun. That for my little bit of kind of playing around spraying primer, and actually I did paint, I forgot to mention that, I did actually paint the underside of the hood. If I can find the latch. So this of course was black, this hood's off the donor car, so I did paint the underside of the hood, and then I painted the inside of the fenders as well, just to get everything to match, as well as I'll show this all to you later. As you can see this support bar, and you can kind of see that apron through the plastic. That of course was all black because that came off the donor. So I did do some painting already with that gun, and I think I should be able to figure out whether or not I can make it look good on this, on a full vehicle or not. Especially this thing's got a lot of metallic in it, and it's a darker color, which I know is a challenge. But hey, it's a builder car, so it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be a nice car for my daughter. But so that's the update. Again, I apologize for not filming a lot of this stuff before. I've done a ton of work to this thing. Oh my gosh, I forgot too, and I had. So what did I do? I had some bent lines. There's a cooler line that goes in there that cools the turbo that I had to replace. There's an AC line that had a little nick in it. I replaced that. And then the most expensive part that I've had is this catalytic converter, which comes right off the engine. And this cat, so it sits like this in the front of the car. And if you can see that, it's got a dent in it. And it damaged the whatever the stuff is that's inside a catalytic converter. I know it's some, actually look, there's a chunk of it just from me tipping it over. That's part of the honeycomb. That gray stuff is part of the honeycomb material from inside the catalytic converter. So anyway, it was bad enough that it broke the insides, and I talked to a guy who actually did the same exact car. Same thing happened to him, and he thought he was ready to go. Once it warmed up, it was throwing codes, and it was because of that cat had that dent in it. So I bit the bullet and bought a new catalytic converter $900 later, and so that's taken care of. So I've had some of the mechanical work that I had to do too, outside of just the body work. But so I'll try to record everything from here. Next step is I'm gonna shoot this hood with some primer and get it all nice and evened out, and then we'll move forward with wet sanding the doors and the fenders. right, so there's the first coat. That went down pretty well. Mostly the hood. I got a little tip of this fender over here where I've got a little bit of tape missing, or paint missing. I think I actually did that when I was putting the hood on, trying to get the hood adjusted properly. So we'll let that set up for a second, and then I'll go ahead and hit it. I'll probably put 3 coats of primer on here. All right, now that we got that hood paint primered, which turned out pretty good, I think. I'll give you a little bit better view of what we're looking at. So again, there's our black fenders from our donor car, both sides. I'm going to be scuffing those here shortly. So here's the front end. Let me pop this hood here a second. So as I was explaining before, here's the apron that I cut off the donor. The cross member I left in place. Got welded up on top of these the wheel housing here, and you can't see very well because I got everything reinstalled, but basically so this is the tip. This is the black frame rail tip off of the donor car, and I probably can't see in there very well, but right here is actually where the weld is, and those turned out good. So everything bolted up nice. There's all the radiators, condensers and intercooler, all that stuff that came off the donor car, and all that plastic on the front end. And man, I tell you, again, haven't done this before, but I quickly figured out that if you've got a lot of front end damage, just finding a front clip is definitely the way to go. This line here is actually a coolant line that goes to the turbo, so that was smashed in a little bit. That catalytic converter sits back here behind this cover plate, which I already showed you that I replaced, and then that shield there I replaced, and then here's the AC line. That was there was kind of a nick in the rubber. I think it probably would have been fine, but it wasn't. I decided I was replacing all the bad parts, so went ahead and did that. This whole corner here was crushed, so this fuse box or fuse block was all destroyed, and the fuses and everything inside were completely crushed. So that actually came with the donor car as well. The bracket, there's a plastic bracket that this sits, that the fuse box sits in the bottom of. I did have to order that. And as you can see, my case for my battery, so this whole battery mount, this was bent, and I straightened it out as best I could, but it's not tight in there. So I either need to try to do some more straightening on that, or I might possibly just get a new battery tray that sits in. Not super critical because it's not going anywhere where it's at, but just to have everything perfect. But so that's where we're at. It's coming together. It's looking pretty good. My body lines are, they're not 100% perfect. I suppose if it was a pro, would probably have things maybe a little bit more perfect, but you know what? It's pretty darn close. I think we're going to be okay. I already got this front bumper. So this is off that front clip, and as you can see, I started to sand this already. I've been wet sanding it, but I've got a lot further to go yet, all the round contour areas, and I just need to hit the whole thing in general better. And then about the only other thing, my door handles are missing, so I'll show you from the inside. But so those are the inside of the door panels. Simple things are a little complicated in this car. Normally it wouldn't be that big of a deal to pop those door handles off, but it has a thumb unlock on the outside. So I had to take the whole door panels off just to get the outside door handles off. But as you can see, it's got a nice interior, leather, heating cooled seats. It's got a gigantic sunroof in it. But I do have to do 3 airbags in here, as I think I mentioned earlier. I've got 2 side curtains, and then I'll also have a steering wheel airbag that I have to replace. I actually ordered those, so once I get the outside painted, I'll get in there. And then the only other thing that I have to do that I think I don't have parts is I'm going to need to send off the seat belt. The passenger side seat belt is locked. Driver's side's not, interestingly enough. So I'm going to have to send that out to get it reset, and then I think I'm probably going to have to take out the airbag control module, whatever you call that, to send that in and get that reset as well. And from what I understand, that's underneath that front console, so I think I have to pull out the driver's seat, take off some trim pieces, and hopefully I can access that and get that taken out and get that sent in. So I'll be working on that as well too. But next step, I'll let this hood dry for a few hours, but it's time to start wet sanding on the doors and the fenders. Window squeegee is the best thing I've got to get that water off. Works good. That's good. Started right up. The only error message, I've got a code for service the safety restraint system, which I know I need to get the airbag module sent in. So fired up, good to go. Let's get her washed. wanted to bring you up to speed and let you know where we're at. Today's actually kind of an exciting day, and if everything goes as planned, I'm hoping to actually be spraying some paint on this car today. So it's kind of a cool, wet, rainy morning, but we're supposed to get up to about 70 degrees or a little above 70 today. So hopefully the weather cooperates. But first step this morning, I'll just kind of show you where we're at, and we can talk about next steps in the process. So I've got everything pretty well laid out, hopefully for a successful day. Got what I believe that I need to mask. I did get a roll of this this plastic that you can pull over the top of the car. I thought that was just kind of the easy way to do it, and I'll use that again in the future. Got some other masking supplies. Got my prep all, some cleaners. Got some lint-free towels. That's the paint that we're using. That's the clear that we're using, and that's the gun that we're using. So it's an Iwata W400 is the gun. You might notice that I've got a few tarps hung up in here. So one of my concerns, if you've seen my prior videos, you know that my shop I've got a lot of stuff in here, and it's, you know, I do a lot of woodworking in here, so there's dust everywhere. I've taken as much precautions as I can to try to get this floor clean. But I still was concerned about getting dust in the clear. You know, that's one of the biggest challenges of working at home. So I've got tarps, and I was able to find some white ones, so it's nice and bright in here all the way around. And we've got our pseudo paint booth set up. I was working in here last night and had bugs I noticed started flying around, so I actually set up a bug zapper and knocked down some of the bugs. And there's kind of you won't be able to see on video, but got a little pile of bugs on the stool, so that did its trick. So we're gonna get started here. First step is I want to get some things kind of cleaned up, kind of on the, you know, on the back lips of the fenders and the doors and everywhere, so that when I'm back masking, I get tape stick good. So I think that's going to be my first step, is to just kind of do a general cleaning. Actually, I'll probably just do a general cleaning of everything. But I'm really going to focus on the back edges, and then we'll start working on getting everything taped up. So I never would have thought of using glass cleaner as initial phase clean these panels, but I saw Kevin Teets with Eastwood do it, so I thought I'd give it a shot. Alright, so it looks pretty good. Question is, do I leave it propped like that, or do I actually slam it all the way? And it looks like I probably need to tape back here too, I think. All right, guys, so we're getting real close to go time here. I've got it all masked off. I think it's maybe not a perfect professional looking job, but it's covered. I think we're going to be just fine. Next step is I'm going to get the wax and grease remover, go over the whole thing once or twice, and then I'll tack it down, including the bumper guard. I decided to actually paint the front bumper over here. The way I've got this set up, so I've got pretty much the whole perimeter tarped off, and I've got all the seams kind of semi-sealed. But this back corner, the back of the car, I'm going to leave that tarp cracked open a little bit. I've got windows open on that side of the shop, and then over here, I've got this window open with a fan blowing out, and I do have a cross breeze coming through here. So my thinking is that hopefully we can get some of that overspray that's hanging in the air. It'll come through and it'll pull through and go out this window back here. So we'll see how that works out. Probably not as well as I hope, but it's better than nothing, I think. So next step is to get the wax and grease remover and start cleaning this thing up. So I think this goes without saying, but just wetting the floor here to kill any dust that I didn't get cleaned up, as well as to kill any overspray that comes off the painting and try to minimize the amount of dust in here. Time to mix some paint. This is a real bright blue metallic on this car. Looks like the paint code is 388A. Blew me away metallic is what it's called. I'm kind of excited and I'm kind of nervous. Hopefully I don't mess it up. Pretty blue. Perfect. Alright guys, so it's the next morning now. The SD card filled up last night when I was just starting to spray clear, and it was getting kind of late and the whole place was filled with basically a fog of overspray. So I sprayed 2 good coats of clear and I decided just to let everything set up overnight, and we'll come back this morning. So look what we've done. I have to say that I'm pretty happy with the results. The bumper turned out good. Got a nice glassy shine on the car. The fenders and the doors I'm really happy with. They turned out good. We've got a little bit of trash in the hood. A little bit disappointed in that. And actually, most of that actually was coming in the base coat. It was coming in the paint, and I could see it as it was going on. It happened kind of right away, and probably the first coat or two. And I'm not exactly sure, to be honest with you, where that was coming from. I took a lot of precautions, but somehow, somewhere, we got some trash in the paint. So as I was spraying, I saw it, and I made the decision right away that I was just going to roll with it. I could tell that the doors and the fenders were coming out good. So I decided right away that worst case scenario, if I feel like I need to, I can always take this hood off and I can sand it down and I can just re-clear the hood. But you know, for what this is, and you know, it's not a professional job. It's a garage job, again, for my daughter's car. I think we're probably just gonna call it good. The one real frustrating thing is I did get a stupid bug right there in the clear coat, and I haven't tried to do anything with that yet. Last night, that was my first coat of clear, second coat, and I didn't have like a tweezers or anything in here, and I was afraid that if I would try to mess with it, I would end up making more of a mess. So I decided I'd just leave it and I'll try to buff it out. So I haven't even tried to do anything with that dang bug, but I may have to do a little, light 2000 or 2500 grit sand and kind of buff that out. But hey, you know what? Overall, I think it turned out really good. So I'm happy. Time to start taking all the plastic and paper off, and we're gonna see. My next big question is, how good of a match did we get in the paint? And I'm kind of anxious to see how that turned out. What I do know is that this paint is really it's one of those paints that, depending on the angle that you're depending on the angle that the sun and the angle you're standing and looking at it, has a lot of variation in it. Sometimes it looks almost purpley, sometimes it's bright blue, sometimes it's dark blue, and so we'll see. But for now, we'll get you set up and I'm going to start taking the masking off. Well, guys, I think my masking was a success. I was a little concerned that, never having done that before, that I would mess something up and I would get overspray somewhere that I didn't intend to. And the only place that I see any overspray is actually here in the prop rod, which is actually, I think I can probably take some solvent and I can probably clean that right off of there. So actually there's a little bit here in the bottom of the hood, but I'm sure that'll clean off too. But it's the bottom of the hood, so who cares? And so now I guess it's time to put this thing back together. Hopefully this process will go fairly quickly. I might need to wait for a second set of hands to put my bumper on. I don't want to scratch up my new bumper, but maybe I'll at least get it assembled, get it ready to go back on the car. But let's start bolting things back together. All right, so I came up with a custom tool to reinstall this door handle. It's a custom bread wire. Bread tie, that's what I'm trying to say. I have no idea what the actual tool is to install that thing, but that works. That's all I care. So these headlights are a lot of the reason why I decided to buy a front clip when I started pricing things out. These are, I'm trying to remember, I think these were 600 bucks a piece, something like that, $500 or $600 a piece. And I needed 2 of them, so that's when I started doing the math and figuring out that going with a front clip is probably going to be more cost effective than buying individual parts. So they're expensive. Buddy, come here. Come here. Jesse, come here. What are you doing? Good boy. All right, fog lights are in. Now we have a complete bumper assembly. What's up, guys? Back working in the shop again today on the 2019 Chevy Equinox project. I thought I'd give you guys an update where we're at and kind of follow along some of the next steps. I'll start back here in the back of the car. And I thought when I got the paint work done that I had the hard part behind me, but I had really underestimated how much work it is to get out the seat belts and the airbags in this thing. So as you can see, I've got parts everywhere. I've got the headliner hanging down. It's really a challenge getting to those side curtain airbags, but I took out pretty much all the plastic. I didn't want to take out this rear plastic, so I got it to the point where I could at least hang it down and get access to those bags. I've got the passenger side, or sorry, the driver's side, kind of show you, side curtain airbags installed. I was just able to reach back in there over the top of the headliner to reach those back bolts. I've got to do this side next. Which shouldn't be too bad now that I've got the headliner down. However, I ran into a problem. I thought I was kind of home free, and I figured out that the airbag connectors here, this is the car side airbag connector, is broken there, and it's actually cracked on this side. So when you go to snap it onto the airbag, it doesn't stay, it pops off. So wasn't expecting that. I was actually hoping to have this headliner all done and reinstalled by now, but I had to order these. These stupid little things are really expensive. Those are like 80 bucks a piece, which is kind of outrageous, but what are you gonna do? I did send off the seat belts and the airbag control module, and I got those reset. So I'm gonna be working on that today to get that installed. The seat belts, the passenger seat belt was locked when I got the car. The driver's side seatbelt was not locked, and you're supposed to be able to test those with an ohm meter and verify that the seatbelt is good. I was having trouble getting that process to work, and I didn't want to take any chances, so I went ahead and sent both seatbelts in to have them, tested and reset. So that's been done. I've got these door panels and the rocker panel moldings down there. I broke clips when I took those off, so I got some clips. Those are in, so I can get those installed. These door panels here, the one that goes in the front here, when I popped those off, I actually broke, I'll show you. The way this molding is made, it's a two-piece molding, so there's a backer plate here that's got the clips in it, and then the actual, trim piece that you see. And when I pop this off, on this side, about half of this side, the plastic weld from the factory popped loose, so I actually took a soldering iron and I fixed those, and I got that repaired. So those are ready to get popped back on. That should be easy. I don't have the front bumper cover on yet, and the reason that I don't, I mentioned in our last video that there's this connector on the car here, and I wasn't sure what this was for. So what I've learned through my research and figured out that, so our car is a 2019. The front clip donor card that I got was a 2018. On the 2018, the camera that's mounted in the front grille here is run off of these 5 wires like that. On the 2019, the car that we have, the camera connector is actually this. It's almost like a coax type connector. This connector is what I was missing before. That's what actually plugs into the car. And then this side over here, we'll go to the front wire, in the front wiring harness. This goes up and actually plugs into the camera. So what I had to do was get a new wiring harness that I'll string through the bumper, and then I also had to get a new camera so that it has the right connector on it. I'll just probably throw this on eBay and resell that. But I have the wiring harness. I don't have the camera yet. That's the reason why that's not on. As soon as I get that, I should be able to pop that on really quickly. The front bumper will go on. And then this, I don't know, like this air dam thing that goes down below the front bumper, that will go on as well. And then that should be, with the rocker panel moldings, the door moldings, and the front bumper, that should be pretty much it for the exterior of the car. So today's project, I'm going to do as much as I can. I'm going to work on getting the seat belts installed, and I'm going to reinstall the airbag control module. This guy here. And to get that airbag control module out, that was fun too. I kind of loosened up the side of of that front console there and got as much plastic out of the way that I needed to. I actually got it to the point where I can lift it up a little bit, and I was just able to access, there's 3 bolts that hold that airbag control module, and I was just barely able, there's one bolt in the back that's super, super tight to get to. But I was able to get that out. So I'm going to sneak that back in there today. I'm going to reinstall the seat belts. I'm going to get the exterior trim pieces done. And then really at that point, I'm basically just waiting for camera and for my little airbag connectors to come in. And I think we should be able to get this car finished up. So we're getting close. Kind of some last minute setbacks here. Fortunately or unfortunately, I guess however you want to look at it, if you saw my other videos, you know that I'm actually finishing this car for my daughter. This is the goal. I'm going to give this to her for her 16th birthday, which she knows about. She's really excited. However, because of the whole COVID-19 thing, you can't just walk into the DOT and get your driver's license. You either have to make an appointment that is like 6 weeks out, or you have to do it online. And in order to do that process, it sounds like it takes a couple of weeks. So I bought myself a little bit of time. Her birthday's coming up in a couple of weeks, but just her getting her license is going to take a couple additional weeks. So she's not very happy about that, but it buys me a little bit of time to get the car done. So I'll go ahead and set up a camera, and you guys can follow along some of this installation work that we'll be doing today. All right, there we go. Got both side curtain airbags installed. Finally, those are a pain. So I wish I could go ahead and finish this up and get this headliner up, but I'm gonna get these connectors. As you can see, this one's broke too, so I guess we'll move on to maybe the seat belts. Okay, so I decided I should probably go ahead and pull the steering wheel airbag out just to make sure if this has a bad connector in it too, I can get that ordered tomorrow when I order other parts. That's loose. So it looks like my connectors are okay. So we're gonna go ahead and reinstall. Okay. Slide that back in. There we go. Okay, so it's time to tackle this airbag control module. I'm not going to be able to probably show you this on camera because it's such tight quarters in here, but basically what I've done, I've got this console loose and I've got it propped up. It's got it sitting on a drill right now, propped up just enough so that I can slide this in underneath this wiring harness. The hard thing about this is that you can't get a ratchet in there. Of course, that's a deep well, but even a regular, well, the challenge is that a deep well, you can't get in there, and then a regular socket, you can, but the stud is too long. If you can see those studs in there, so then you lose. It kind of runs out the bottom of a standard socket. So I'll get it in there, I'll get it started, and I'll use, I've got a ratchet wrench and a bunch of patience, and I'll get it in there one way or another. So I'll set you aside and hopefully come back to you with an installed module here in a few minutes. Alright guys, so that actually went in much easier than it came back out, and you can see that module is squirreled way back in behind there. So I can go ahead and drop this console back down. We'll get these wiring harnesses. These are just push buttons here, little Christmas trees. I'll get these pushed back in. Then there's bracing here that I took off. How did that go? Came off like this. So I'll get the bracing put back up on there for the console, and then I can put the trim pieces back on. That harness needs to be behind this brace. I have to take that back off. Shoot. Okay guys, so I told you about the reason why I had to do this different wiring harness. And so here's the difference. So here's the new camera. Here's the old camera. And the old camera, which actually came with a little harness itself, has this square plug on it, rectangular plug with 5 wires. The new camera has just I call it like a coax plug, and it's this here is actually what plugs into it. So that's the difference between, this is the 2019 style camera versus the 2018. So created a bit of extra work to get this all accomplished, to have the proper, and this is GM's, or Chevy's, I guess, GM's 360-degree camera system is what this is part of. And I don't know if that's a new system in 2019 versus 2018 or what, but anyway, put this thing together. Well guys, I guess that's a wrap. The car is finished, officially licensed. My daughter has already taken it to town a couple of times, so thought I'd shoot a video because she ran it through the car wash, and that's about as clean as you're gonna see a car out here on the gravel roads where we live. So got everything put together, came together good. The interior was a real pain, to be honest with you, dealing with those airbags and getting that airbag module out, and doing everything I had to do to get that tore apart. It wasn't so bad putting it back together, but that was kind of a job, more than I expected. Pretty happy with the way the paint turned out. There's some imperfections, but you know what, overall, pretty happy with it. So, hey, it's been a good project. I really enjoyed working on it. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed following along. Definitely going to, you know, it's kind of wet my whistle. I think I'm definitely going to work on finding another vehicle. I've kind of got my idea what I want to look for next. I'm going to probably be looking for a truck for myself, and you know, probably we'll do the same thing. Go for a wreck truck. I'm not sure what kind of damage I'm going to be looking for. I guess that just kind of depends on what I can find out there. But this isn't going to be my last vehicle. I'm pretty sure I'm going to do it again. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that little video series. If you haven't already, do me a favor, subscribe to my channel and look out for future videos like this one and some other stuff that I've got going on. And I'll keep bringing more footage to you. So take care, guys.